All right, everybody, welcome to today's call. Hopefully we do the best we can with technology. I'm on the road at my in-laws in lovely, cold Minneapolis for a hockey tournament. What else would I be doing in the winter? So I'm excited, though, to do this call today. I'm going to grab right off the bat Kyle Jones because he and Scott are doing a drop for a postcard. And so one of the thoughts was, okay, there's a lot of this marketing that's been discussed. And when it has a very strong USP, these guys are home investors, franchise owners, so they're very used to having the phone ring because of postcard drops. So they're using a very aggressive program for a full service flat fee. Now, again, I'll just mention for everybody in advance, that's not the program for everybody, but it dovetails very well with their strategy. So I want to make it clear before I get into the script. This is a particular thing that today I want to work on a skill set and show you that formulaically you can approach any kind of call in a very similar fashion. You don't have to necessarily have one script fits all, but you do have to have sort of this one formula fits all to the extent that you don't want to forget why you're there. I had a good opportunity to train Duran Weisbar's team, his inside sales team in Seattle. And it was interesting to see that these folks who are doing a really good job would get through that first part of the script. In other words, why they were calling, what the introduction was. But then there's this big issue with timing. And I think that I need to make it very clear to everybody that timing is paramount, that you achieve that. So it's not so much, are you perfectly scripted and did you remember the script well? That's enough just to beat yourself up. And I think it's dangerous training. So I try to stay away from it. However, there are beats that must be hit. And when you hit those beats, what's very important is that you come out with an outcome. And I'm very much in this mode right now to make sure there's a balance between, yes, to all this concierge attitude that we can have out there, but it is very, very important to make sure that you get a result, right? We have to remember where we are in the sales piece of this. So for all of you that are very fully aware of the TRC model that I developed, you know that I'm trying to get you all to think of it like an assembly line. And in an assembly line, you're manufacturing relationship. So it's very important to understand where you are in the process of building that relationship. You have to build database. So in the campfire yesterday, the call was all about, we were talking about making sure that you build a database. Well, that's what phone calls are for, to build a database. If you can get the appointment in short time, that's great, but you still built a database with that person who's ready to go sooner than later. Meaning they have to come off of wherever you got them from, that information. Maybe let's say it's a direct call of a postcard. Very important to get accurate callback information. Put them into a process whereby even your shortest of term follow-ups gets kicked into place. And that's this whole concept of building something, this concept of building a database. So today's context is one particular marketing program that is most likely going to make the phone ring because it goes right after price. And again, I don't recommend this for everybody. It doesn't fit everybody's business model. But with Kyle and Scott, they are home investors, folks, owners, and they're used to this sort of a thing. So they're parlaying off of it. And I highly recommended it for them because of that setup of their business. I think it's really a perfect dovetail. All right. So when I open up the microphones, understand that's my context with Kyle. And Kyle, when we get you open here, hang on one second. Let me just double check. I think that's you. Is that you? Say hello.
Yeah,
Kyle, you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I got you perfectly. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to leave your mic open just to get this thing stimulated here and we talk about it. What we're going to do is make sure that you and I go through what you think could go wrong. Because when we were doing the one-on-one training, I think that was the issue, is that we were sort of like, okay, when these call up, try to remember what you said to me then. Let's try to get it back on the table so we get it fresh. Because by the way, what you were saying is shared by most people in this group. Most people, before they get into phone call follow-up or picking up the phone from a particular program, they have a perception that something negative could go there, in their direction. So let's go back there and you reiterate to me what you were thinking there.
Yeah, well, part of it, I think, is just my own pessimism and my own mental that I got going on that I've got to overcome in this certain aspect of the business. But also a big part of it is that I automatically generally assume that at least 25% of the people who receive anything that I send out are just automatically going to get angry, upset, and not want to send them anymore. Mm-hmm. So part of my mental game that I've got to do to prepare for this is that I've got to prepare for that possible thing, freaking out when it happens and not knowing what to do, but trying to find a way to work around and turn that conversation into a positive.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, first of all, let's deal with skepticism, because it's not just yours or mine or ours. It's everybody. I mean, again, I've said this before many times about head stuff coaching, is that we live in a world where negativity has been turned loose. It can run wild. So when you get to social media, I'm not saying that there's not a certain amount of positive. I try to contribute to that all the time, but there's plenty of negative. If you turn on the TV, there's plenty of negative. So over and over and over again, we are bombarded with negative thoughts. We're bombarded with arguments, conflict. I mean, you just turn on Instagram, everybody's fighting everybody. Everybody's running into something, colliding. It's stunning what that can do to the mindset and put us in such a skeptical, negative place, right? So I think we lean into it. We embrace it. We say, if that's really the thing that's happening to us, and by the way, it is, you cannot necessarily control these thoughts. Napoleon Hill talked about this, and he called it the ether, Kyle, right? Things travel through the ether or through space, and certainly now stimulated by all the social that we can have, we say, well, I was just doing no-brainer stuff on my computer or my Instagram because I was tired. Yes, but understand that that's part of what's just flowing into your head, and that's clouding everything else. So we arrive in a sales training call like this. Now we have to deal with that, right? So that's why I wanted you to go back there so everybody could hear the context that you and I had to start, right? Does that make sense so far, Kyle?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, if
that pretty much nailed it.
Yes. And if that's true for us, and by the way, it can border on causing depression. I mean, the more negativity that we indulge in, I say this to my own family members, beware of how much that TV's running. I don't care what side of the political aisle you're on, but holy moly, some of the worst stuff is about politics. You can be on any side, and it's unbelievable how negative the programming is. And I put up a little post on Danny Griffin over at Instagram about, are we getting played? And we are. People are playing on our emotions negatively, so that when we arrive, even at a normal situation, we're so exasperated, we're so depressed, we're so agitated that we don't even know what we're saying. And that's where I want to begin to let you off the hook, and your mind that says, look, I know you can feel like that because I can feel like it. We can all feel like it. But now all of a sudden we get to this point where you're saying, well, how do I overcome it? So it becomes more of a challenge for ourselves, certainly, so you have to have that beat. Anytime that you're going to answer a phone call, it's almost like just a quick beat. There's got to be something in your head and say, okay, push out the negative. Let's get positive. Let's solve somebody's problem, right? And I'm not saying you have to state that like an affirmation or a mantra. You certainly could do that if you're going to sit down and make follow-up phone calls. But I think it's extremely important that what we do is get our quick beat, take a breath, and don't take our negativity over into the phone call. Now, let's presume that the phone call does go a little bit sideways or negatively, all right? I want to deal with that. I think that's a real thing. What in your mind's eye, when you go out and Scott drops this postcard, let's talk about the essence of the message. It's basically full service, flat fee. So just so everybody knows what we're provoking here with this is that these guys are going to try to get some volume. And again, remember, they're dovetailing this with home investors, so it works for them. It does not work for me and my company. We would not do this. We are in a different lane. So having said that, you're going to see me use the same formula because people are afraid to call expireds. So I'm going to work with Kyle off of the expired formula. It's exactly what I'm going to do. So Kyle, first of all, what could they say that's wrong when they get that message? Anything. And you had some good stuff you shared with me before. Give me some idea of what we were talking about.
That's a hard thing too. At the moment I'm looking at it, I'm in a good mood today, so I'm not seeing a lot to argue with.
Yep.
But previously it's as easy as is offering any guarantee, because I know that in the past, whenever we've offered a guarantee, I get some people who will literally take the entire phone call to try to find a hole in your own system that they can exploit to make you look bad.
Okay, good. I don't disagree with that. Everybody, again, skepticism is this growing concern on the other end of the phone. I don't disagree that they will provoke you into trying to defend yourself. I get it. The key is to try to maintain a persona that is not, defensive based on that, right? I think that's really the most important thing here. So let's just say this. One of the things that you said to me is that they would be like, take me off this list, right? Okay. So that wouldn't be the worst thing, because we're dropping things in there, and Homevestors, as Scott was saying, does the same thing. They're going to cleanse to a certain level what they can out of, postcards. But again, this rotation that you're going to do is so infrequent, so be it. They pop it off. I mean, we'll deal with that with the mailing company. So that's easy enough to deal with. All you say is no problem. Didn't mean to, intrude the mail. Right. And again, you're going to get some people that are just flat out angry, crazy, whatever. I just wouldn't let that be something that was a reflection on the job that still has to be done. Right. In other words, don't let that get to you. Typically, people that call you are the ones that are really interested and the ones that are really not. You follow me? Like there's a lot in between that are getting the marketing messages from us. They're consuming them. They're getting, remember what I said was really critical these days for all of you doing postcard marketing or direct mail marketing, is to lead them somewhere else where they can learn more. Because in a skeptical world that still has the benefit of going and visiting a digital site, these folks still have the ability to go out and look at us online, excuse me, and watch us in some video context, further explaining what we just showed them on a two-dimensional postcard. So that's how it ties in, because the majority of people who are interested, let's say that, are going to go somewhere else to learn more about you. Okay. So that becomes something also to be encouraged by, that even when the phone doesn't ring, marketing sometimes takes time. I don't want to go too far. Direct response is intended to get direct response and traffic quickly. And if it's not, the message could be the problem. So now we get in there. Okay. So now let's just pretend it's somebody who picks up the phone and they're curious. All right. So, I will answer the phone, or whatever part of the role play you want to do first. What are you prepared to do in your mind's eye? You want to beat me up first, or just play along? You don't have to beat me up, by the way. I didn't mean to, put it in that mindset. But you want me to go through this, because I'm going to work from this formulaic approach to help you develop something for this. Is that all right?
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm not 100% confident in my abilities to role play at the moment, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, give it a shot. Let's just, again, I think we just stumbled through it a little bit because there's no rhyme or reason. This is for a unique selling proposition. I'm going to work off the expired formulaic approach we have. And the bottom line is, if somebody calls up and just says, let me walk through it first. How about that, right? Let me just walk through my thoughts in a very scripted way. So I think with the expired or probate or FSBO, those are some of the context of sellers we've dealt with in this call in the past, in home evaluation, right? But this is a strong one. This is somebody's going to call off of direct mail, and they're going to be strong. So I think the issue is, hey, I was calling about this program that you guys have. Oh, great. Yeah, this is Kyle. What's your name? It just becomes very conversational, right? And positive. In other words, we want to have that first beat that I think will anchor you correctly in being positive, Kyle, right? See, I'm always thrilled, and maybe you need to get connected to this, but I'm always thrilled when somebody wants to, respond to my marketing. I'm jazzed about that, because I spend a lot of time and effort trying to get that stuff done. I spend money, etc. So you get in this mode where we're just be happy that they even picked up the phone and called. In a world that's gotten so skeptical and where everybody thinks they can get an answer online, here's somebody on the other end of the phone. So, how does this thing work? What do you mean by full service? No, well, what we mean is full service. At Jones Realty Group, we follow a 7-step plan. So everything that we do is following this plan, and it's in depth. We don't leave anything out just because we do it at a flat fee. So your quick response, and this is why we do this whole campfire training where we rotate between seller, buyer, and then, of course, time management for agents, those 3 beats. But the seller deal and the 7 steps. So remember, when they get skeptical or they come after you, the unique selling proposition that I'm trying to teach you all is to say, I have a plan. Okay. The reason why we could do it at a flat fee is because we have a plan. We're not guessing. We're not a collection of ideas. Whatever it is, Kyle, that makes you feel comfortable, you're following a plan. So the hero of the story just picked up the phone and called you off of this postcard, and they're skeptical. Well, what do you mean 7 points? Doesn't everybody do the same thing? Well, I can't speak for everybody else, but we walk through the order of things with our clients so that they can get the best result. Well, what do you mean the order? Well, what we do first is we go through a pricing it right formulaic approach. We have a lot of experience because we also own a home investors franchise. And so we have a lot of pricing experience, but we also coach our clients on how they can recondition and stage their property depending on what budget, time, and effort they want to put in so that by the time we arrive at marketing, everything's organized. And that's why we can do this flat fee, because by the time you come to marketing, we have everybody in line to do professional pictures, floor plans, get you up on digital just the way that you should be. In fact, we believe that we do it better than the majority of people because we're that organized, right? So there's your first beat when somebody comes at you. Make sense so far?
Yeah.
So I think if you had the trigger word in your head, plan, when they come at you, say, look, you know, we just sent the postcard out. We're not trying to hurt anybody. We just wanted to let you know that, number one, you should have a plan. And number two, if you really want a good proven one, we give you one at a flat fee. We think that's an irresistible offer. We think that's a unique selling proposition. See, I think instead of feeling defensive, which comes up a lot in this sales training call, there's no reason to be defensive. There's a reason to be completely confident because you are well trained in that moment. So see, role playing for the sake of role playing is I can go down a script, but that's more so, I think sometimes, even if the person on the other end is just completely quiet, right? Sometimes they just go deaf mute on you and they're not really going to say anything. Sometimes you'll need to lead the conversation and hit the beats that you want. So Kyle, you know, here's the deal. I think basically we have a 7-point plan and we help anybody with it. We're certainly happy to send it out to you if you'd like to further review it. I can even send it to you right now. So, you know, I mean, you sounded like maybe it's a little bit too good to be true. I'll give it to you right now. See, that's dramatic demonstration too. Right. And again, if we're not trying to be covetous of our information, we truly are givers of this plan and we're willing to give it away for free. You can grab that moment saying, look, I get it. It's hard to believe anybody these days, but we've been doing this for so long. We refined the system for so many years that we're able to give it to you. In fact, we'll just give you the outline of the plan. It's the what to do. I guess you could probably even do it without us. However, I don't recommend that because there's a lot of how you execute this that matters quite a bit. Kyle, come at me with some objections from there. Like, give me something that will throw me off course a little bit.
I'm trying to think of stuff the entire time that you're talking right now.
It's hard, isn't it?
To be honest.
Yeah, but it's hard, isn't it? When somebody's logical on the other end of the line, what happens is, even here in a controlled training group, it's hard to push back, isn't it? Right? It's a challenge. So that's the whole point here. All right, I'm going to open up the mics for everybody. Anybody want to challenge me on what I just said? Come on in here. Kate, you're in here. I want to hear from you. Tony, you're in here. Kleba, you're in here. Alan, you're in here. There's some folks in here. Andrew, Andy, you're in here too. All my regulars. What do you think about this type of a situation, helping Kyle deal with this? What are some of the objections that might come up?
When you get to timing and motivation.
Tony first and then Alan. Go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead.
Tony, go ahead.
No. When you get to timing and motivation, so later on in the conversation,
oh, good.
I'll jump back in.
Awesome. Superb. Yeah, because that's one of the things you and I were talking about. And we can definitely follow up on that because that's the beat that needs to be hit. Alan, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, what you always told me, and I think, and I find myself just like with the, you know, being taught like a parent, you're the parent, and now I'm reparroting that agents.
Yeah.
Is what you're hearing, is it a one-off? If it's a one-off, don't let them throw you off. Don't redo your whole approach for a one-off. So
excellent.
we talking of these fears or concerns or whatever statement been made. Is this the rare the rare situation, or
that's
just a recurring situation? Well, is what you would always say to me, Danny.
Yeah, that's a great question, Alan. And let me give you a little bit more context. That's why I started the call with this. These guys are sending a postcard drop. They're going to rotate 3 zip codes or areas, and it is a very strong offer. If you've seen it before in the mastermind, some people have done it when it fits their model, but it's the full service flat fee idea. And so it doesn't work for everybody, but it's a very strong program to the extent that there's always that group of people out there that you can drop and they're going to be ready for an offer like that because price is their main motivator, right? Definitely. We know that. FSBOs are in that category. So is he getting lots of
pushback?
Well,
is he getting lots of pushback?
None yet.
Is it a one-off? Because you know, you always told me, and you've coached us in this group, you know, don't let the exception, you know, or the tail wag the dog. If it's a one-off, if it's the rare exception, you listen to them, or, you know, if they'll speak, they may just get pissed off and hang up.
Yeah.
But don't restructure your whole business because of a one-off here and there. You said if it becomes a consistent, a consistent, then maybe the system needs to be, again, your plan, your system needs to be looked at again.
Yeah,
so I guess that was my question.
Well, that's right.
Are we talking about just one-offs? Are we talking about a consistent pattern?
We don't know yet. In his case, there have been other people who have done the program, and they always get that swath of people who are interested. But the adjustment that we made when it was first given to me and I was asked for help, I adjusted it immediately with the 7 points. I said, you can't just go out there and offer a flat fee. That's a race to the bottom, and that's dangerous. There's nothing unique about that. There's no victory in that. You can't win that fight. It's like a brokerage offering a discounted model. Eventually it's a race to the bottom because you cannot afford to do what you actually need to do the job. So ultimately, people that have done it in the past, they would get always that small group of people, but I think that was in direct proportion to their ability to sell on the phone, on muscle. What I'm looking for is a formula here that he's ready to go with. And again, their paperwork has been adjusted. Full service means a plan. Okay, so that's number one.
I love that.
Yeah,
I mean, I made that note because I think it's whatever, you know. I love that. You can use that. I have a plan where our seller or an agent, you have a plan.
That's right.
And you know, nobody else, you know, has a plan.
Well, Alan, let's look at it this way. And Kyle, this I think is Alan's really digging up, a very important bone that is probably buried too often in our sales conversations. And that is this concept of unique selling proposition. Okay, your marketing was good enough to provoke me to pick up the phone and call you about this offer you just made. Okay, so it worked. Your ad online, your video, whatever it might be, all of these things worked to get you to me. So Alan also makes a good point for all of you that are calling, and I know we have some of Voltaire's team on here. Anybody picking up the phone and calling internet leads, you know, to a certain extent, you're protected where assuming the information is good information, it's been captured. But on a postcard, you really need to be on your game so as to not miss the opportunity for follow-up. Okay. As much as, here's the double-edged sword, as much as the offer, and this is always about an offer. The offer is, I will do this thing for this price, or we will give you this thing for free, whatever it is. That's a marketing offer that provokes somebody to get into an exchange with you of information, time, conversation, whatever it might be. And that brings us always to the sale moment, inside and outside. So again, there has to be a clear reason in every one of those contexts as that person gives you a breath. See, skeptical people sometimes are really good people to do business with because they challenge us to be better. So Laura and I talk about this regularly at our company where we say, look, let's not fret the people who are difficult and challenging. Let's lean in on that and say, that's a good question. What do we need to do? And so I'm about to make a big adjustment on a couple of things that I do for those folks because that makes me unique. It's the service level. It's the ability to offer a plan and then continue to evolve it, even with one client who's working there. That means, see, people, I've said this to you all before too, I'll say it again. People will support what they help create. I'm going to say this again. People will support what they help create. So during a phone conversation, if they feel like they're part of it, right? First of all, you have to have the heartbeat. Are they good enough? Like, make sure you have your introduction down quickly. If you're actively calling somebody or proactively, we want to get into that. Oh, really? Thanks for calling. What's your name? Really? Oh, good. Do you live what area do you live in? So quickly, we have to be conversational to capture that information that we can. Not pepper them, but just make it conversational so you hook them in a little bit more. If you're calling them and you have their information, to get in that that upbeat tone. You hear how I'm talking on the sales call today? I'm trying to be very upbeat and conversational. That's engaging. Now somebody feels like they're part of something with me and they're co-creating this conversation. The more you talk at somebody, the less willing they are to co-create this relationship. And further into the phone call, assuming that you've done that properly, there will be further opportunity to ask more detail, so you lock in a little bit more. And then clearly the opportunity will come up to describe why you're unique. So again, they came off the marketing message, this direct response idea. I'm asking you to directly respond to me because I have an offer of full service flat fee in this particular program case. Now you get there and they're going to say immediately, defend full service. What does that mean? Defend that. And that's this particular marketing thing. And that's why, Kyle, I think it becomes extremely important. Kyle, that what they need is a proper plan, with or without us. You know that. We all know that. Anybody who does anything in life knows that, especially a big endeavor like selling or buying a property, they need a plan, and they don't have one, and you have one. So that makes you all a very seriously qualified guide. And if you dismiss it as too pedestrian, meaning it's like a simple kind of 7-step infographic, how can that really be effective? It is every single day I use it. I've actually had many people say to me, why didn't anybody else tell me this? Okay. So unique selling proposition based on a plan, and the uniqueness goes even further. What if Alan and Kyle are sitting right next to each other in the same desk calling the same person? Well, now it's the uniqueness with which each guy articulates the plan. Does each guy connect the same way? And so therein lies the artistic form of it. But for all and for both, it's that sense of, I have something for you that's of value. I know what you wanted was the flat fee. I know that. I know you want that. But let me tell you what you need that goes with that. So it doesn't even have to be flat fee. I know, Mr. Expired, that you're about to now roll in 5 or 6 people or 17 people have called you. I know that. I understand that. But let me tell you this. I have sent you pictures of properties that sold that were competing against you. And I think you need to pay attention to those with or without me. And to help you put that in the framework of a true plan, that's part of pricing it right. So when you get all this package, you see how quickly I can move fluidly from one context, flat fee, full service, to expired, all the while with the same level of confidence. Because ultimately, let me train you very clearly here. If you're worried about being peppered with objections or pushback, the fine line decision is, number one, are they just obnoxious? Are they crazy? Are they not listening to you at all? Okay. Are they just throwing up all over you? I would certainly say there's no reason to take abuse making active phone calls or getting one. Okay. So let's just get that out of the way. It's reasonable. And Alan has that exactly right. Don't train for that guy or gal. That's the one-off lunatic moment that happens to all of us. Somebody is just whacked out and they're just not going to listen no matter how good you are. Don't train for that. Just recognize it, move it off the plate. It happens. But there is that little skeptic in all of us that's going to show up to some degree. And the preparation is the same on the sell side, no matter what the context is. The minute you see they are starting to lean in a little bit and be curious about what you have to offer, that's when you have to go into what they need if it's there for you. See, when I first started with these plans online and I offered them, a lot of you, and Alan, you've been around a long time, so you saw me make those offer, hey, get this, seller plan, get this buyer plan. I found that that's what they need, and they may or may not know it. And sometimes marketing has to start with what they want, and then the inclusion of delivering what they want is what they need. Henceforth, this sense of, I'll send you some properties around you. So Kyle, we don't know where these phone calls are going to land, because here's what you don't know, and here's where Tony comes back in, okay? You don't know their timing. You know that they were provoked enough to take an action step, and they arrived there. And you are ready to discern who's just a lunatic yelling at you. Get rid of them, because you worried about that. So I'm giving you permission. If it's really clear that they just had no interest, to take me off this list, my sister's this, and they're just ranting at you, okay? I've experienced that recruiting agents too. They want to throw up their lives all over me. It's like, I'll listen, and then I get out of there as fast as I can, never to return. You have to move off of that. But this one now is in a conversation. And you say, well, full service actually includes our 7-step plan that we've put in order, and we've used it for many years to help people be successful. In fact, if you want to see it right now, give me your best email. Bang, what did I just do? I captured an email. Now I send that over. Now it opens up all this. So if they give that to me, they're beginning to break a little bit, and they're beginning to see this thing. Hey, by the way, you called. Were you thinking about doing this sooner than later? So whatever language sounds natural in that moment, sometimes, hey, were you thinking about buying in 3 to 6 months? And then 2 sentences later, you're saying, hey, when do you think you move? Okay, I get why sometimes, and this is where Tony and I were hammering away at scripts and whatnot. Once you find out why they're moving, say, hey, what makes you want to move? Why are you thinking about moving? That's where I go back to that co-creation of conversation. If you show that you care why they're doing something, I mean, who doesn't want to talk about their own situation? That's why they picked up the phone. Well, you know what? I don't know what it was about your card. I've been thinking about this forever, and I just can't seem to get it going. I'm paralyzed. Oh, I understand. People feel like that all the time when they go to sell their property. It's one of the biggest emotional transactions most people make in a lifetime. I mean, if it all went well and it could go smoothly, where would you go? Do you have something in mind? Yep, I've always dreamed of moving out of the cold down to Arizona. Awesome. Don't give up on that dream. We can help. Boom. Now you're really in there. Now you've crossed over from, I don't know them, but they made a provocative offer. I like the sound of his upbeat tone, so I'll lean in a little bit and ask a few questions. And now he sounds like my hope. Everything changes there. And that's what a good guide does. I'm skeptical when I'm at the bottom of the mountain at Mount Everest. Right? I'm skeptical. And I've been coming here year after year, and I keep thinking I want to try to make this journey. And I kind of skirt around the outsides, and I see people doing it, and I say, I could never do it. Then all of a sudden, one day, a guy comes up and, hands me a pamphlet and says, even beginners can do this. So I'm intrigued. I hold on to it. Then one day I call, and that person says, yep, I've been there with a lot of beginners before. It's not easy, but there's a plan. I lean in a little bit more. You see, this context is true for any relationship, any sales relationship. This is 100% the same formulaic approach. It just doesn't change. Does that make sense, Kyle? Does that make sense, Alan? Yeah? Weigh in on that, you two, before I move over to Tony with timing.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Okay, cool.
I don't really have any input, but...
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah. And again, it's this narrative. Tony, this is wherein that second part of all these conversations come, right? So weigh in there, because you're going to jump in on this part. This is where timing becomes a really, important part of the discussion.
Yeah. And from a context, I know that's not the people on this phone, but from a context of just trying to help people, I think so many realtors, after they're realtors for a long time, they can just talk and off the cuff it.
Yep.
So we've gotten more scripted because our ISA is not a realtor, or both of our ISAs have never sold homes before. Yep. So giving them beats and being more scripted, but timing and motivation. We've been trying to build out our timing questions and our motivation questions just so they have a few of them. Mm-hmm. Start from broad and then peeling the onion layers to get a little bit more narrow and deep with people.
Yeah. All right. So Tony, you've listened to some phone calls with me, and we've broken down some phone calls. And the beginning part of your phone calls were very good. Their introduction, hi, I'm Danny Griffin from the Griffin Realty Group. Reason I was calling you, I saw that this happened, so I sent this information I thought was helpful, or we sent you your home evaluation. I think you're real good there. I think, the training and everything that happens. I think for you and a lot of others, including Duran's folks, that as they moved over into that next realm, here's the big point I want to make to Kyle and work on a little bit here, is that it's extremely important also not to get high on a positive conversation and forget why you're there. It's the same thing for you outside sales agents when you're in a house, to not forget why you're there. If at all possible, of course, and the timing is right, you want to book the appointment. Why? Because that's the next way to build a deeper relationship. And continuously what we're doing is pulling up, building walls around this relationship so that competition can't get in. Or if they can, it's much harder. Okay? And this is why those folks that just sell on muscle, they have a really good emotional conversation. There's a connection. And then they book this kind of half, time, like, hey, they said 6 months, I'm calling in 3. It was an old way to do it before technology could make it even more personal, but it was never really fully understood that was supported by content. So Tony, that timing gap, right, to determine, I think it's more about why are you moving, and really almost doing a takeaway. Do you really have to sell the house? I mean, I said that I went out with one of my agents because I could see she was welling up. And I said, look, do you really have to sell this one? Well, I could buy my brother out. Is that a possibility? I don't know. I said, well, look, why don't we do this? Why don't we at least take you out and give you the alternative? Why don't you come out with us and see what's available at a lesser price range in the same village and see if there's a satisfactory vision for that? So now we're inserting ourselves very much and entangling ourselves in the why and the when. Does that make sense, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the training, your gals are really, really conversational in the beginning. And so were Duran's, Vanessa and the rest of the crew on Voltaire's. I'm just trying to think of all the people that have been on these calls. Terry Legendry, working for Karen, with Karen. So and clearly Laura, right? But I think digging into understanding what they're doing well right here matters. So Kyle, women have this a little bit more naturally, right? They're definitely more nurturing. So somewhere between, like Voltaire and Vanessa and I were learning on, don't forget why you're there. And it's not like we want to go hardcore back to this scripting. And Vanessa, you can speak up if you're too, but you don't want to necessarily go hardcore. Oh, I forgot to ask these questions and start hitting them. You can still hit the beat. Voltaire is going to be upset with me. Tony's going to be upset with me. Danny's going to be upset with me. Scott's going to be upset with me. Gail's going to be upset with me if I don't have a clear outcome. See, it's not that you didn't remember to follow a perfectly scripted deal, but you forgot to get a clear outcome. It's hard enough to figure out what message, to whom we send it, on what media, spend all that money, time, and effort, have the phone ring or you phone them, and forget what you're trying to do next. You're trying to get clarity, and that's why I love when you all send me recorded calls. If you do them, I can help you much better because you can hear the other side of what's happening. You can almost hear where you get all worked up and stuck and you stop being human. But the thing is, you forgot the beat. The beat is why and when are you moving? And how you get there is not something to fret over. Yes, some of you would prefer to have it written down so you don't forget the beats. Some of you are more conversational and that throws you off. Whatever your style is, the outcome or the beat that you must hit is still absolutely critical. You cannot forget, you must determine why they're moving and when they're moving to the best of your ability. Why? Because the motivation, let's just say it's a now appointment. Somebody gets an appointment. That's wonderful. The team that I train up in Ottawa, those guys are studs and studettes at booking appointments. But what we've been working on in earnest is there were a lot of people that would no-show an appointment, or when they would go out, these people weren't even remotely close to listing. So we're teaching their inside sales or their business development associates, as they call them, to really dig in a little bit deeper about the timing and see if it's appropriate. Now, I always think if somebody's willing to sit with you and listen, it's always appropriate to go out there. We're not that busy. There's nobody that busy that's too busy to go out and coach somebody live even if it's a little bit early. Let's say reasonably, if they're going to list their property in the next 12 months, some people are nervous. They want the time. They want the tarmac to prepare, and they want the advice. So why would we withhold it, and especially lose the opportunity to go face to face and build even deeper into that relationship and be part of their solution to calm them down? That's your job as a guide. So digging in on the phone when and why is important. Vanessa, are you with me on the phone call? I think I saw you there earlier. Someone from Voltaire's team there? Hello, Vanessa. I think I see you there. Voltaire, anybody from Voltaire's team? I know somebody is because I know that number. Hello, check. All right, unfortunately. Can you all hear me okay?
We can hear you, Danny.
Okay, all right, good. All right, well, weigh in on that. Weigh in on that.
Yeah, we can hear you,
Yeah, it's
Danny.
too bad. It's too bad. I really wanted Vanessa to weigh in on that. If she can hear me, it'd be good to jump in there. All right, so go ahead, comment on that relationship. Gail, are you there? Because you're doing a great job with your agents in your training. Talk to that relationship building piece. What are the challenges that you see as you're trying to teach your agents this whole idea of establishing relationship, and try to keep it in the context of timing and motivation, which you do very well. Because Tony's point here is a good one. Because we know how to do it, we can't presume that other people can do it well.
I think the first and most important thing is, as you were speaking, to be conversational over the phone.
Yeah.
And then it's not a script, but there is a beat that, as you would say, Danny,
yeah,
to find out timing and motivation in a way that segues into the conversation. For example, hi, Danny. This is Gail with Rossetti Realty. We spoke earlier last year about your property at 123 Main. And he'll go, yeah, I remember you, Gail. And I said, well, yeah, I remember you too. You weren't quite sure whether you wanted to sell this year or not. I just wanted to call you and give you a market update on what's happening in Menlo Park. And, I'll share with him my market update in terms of inventory and how the home sales sold in the month of January. And given that information, were you thinking about possibly selling and making a move this year? That's the way that I would do it.
Yeah, good. And so, yeah.
I mean, I know you were talking about something else with the other person.
No, but like
that's
that.
How I would do it.
Yeah,
and
but Gail, I want to highlight something. You referred to, go back to this for a second. You referred to information or content that you gave him. Go back to that for a second, because I think that's the key point here, is that we have this thing, whether we fully articulate out loud that we have this plan that can help them or not. I think it's important to understand that, Tony, I think what you're hearing her say, and I wanted a second opinion because you were saying this, I think what you hear the best people do is offer some insightful information in some way. Would you agree with that, Tony?
Yeah. Well, I think even going back to the question you asked her, how does timing and motivation help you build rapport? I think if you're unclear about the real motivation, the real why, it leaves a tool missing in your toolbox for the follow-up call. Because if you can connect with somebody, it's not that they just want to get rid of the 2-story home. It's because their husband's stroke and he's sleeping on the couch.
Yeah.
Yep. It's not that they want to get rid of the land. It's because the husband fell off the horse and he can't take care of the land anymore. And if you can get that, then you can connect with them on a way deeper level and build rapport on the follow-up calls.
Yeah.
That's why I think time and motivation can't be, and I think it's a great start. Like, are you thinking about doing something the next year? But it can't be that broad. It's got to be more narrow. Like, how does in the next year, is that like fall of 2019, or are you thinking that's more like 2020? And if so, kind of when and what would need to happen for that to be a reality?
Well, the challenge with that, though, but hold on.
I agree with you. We didn't finish the phone call yet. So part of that would be, I need to know why they're making the move. Of course, there's like with everyone, like I'm going to be listing this one property, and she's moving because her husband passed away. But on this conversation and I just had this conversation, he just said, give me a call back next year, is all he said. You know, I have to dig deeper into that. If you were to move, where would you want to move, or why are you moving? And do it in a way, depending on what he says to me, that would be my next step. And I think you're right, Tony, that when you find the reason why, then that's everything.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then they're playing you, like you said, Danny.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let me offer this. And I'm going to ask a challenging question, and probably because I'm back doing a lot of study from Kennedy, and the way he writes is so unbelievably abrupt. I like that personally. So that's why I like to go back there. Why not just put it on somebody if you feel like the conversation's going the right way? Or at the other extreme, they're blowing you off, like Gail just gave me that example. If you're blowing me off, say, well, look, I'm happy to call you next year, but I don't really know what that means, and I don't know why, so I don't know how to help you between now and then. I'm not really sure, right? Say, is this something you really have to do at all? I mean, it's almost that I don't like the takeaway to say it like that, but it is the takeaway. And I just referenced it in this other situation that was outside sales where we're in the house. And even though the other agent has this 40-year relationship, I said, look, let me just, before we go, I just want to make sure I put the 7 steps down here, and I want to explain it because I know you know us, but I want you to know our plan. And then I want to ask you, do you have to go through all this? Because this is a lot of work, right? Like cleaning out the house and doing this. Do you really have to go through all this? I'm sure he choked when I said it. But the reality is, why are we so afraid to go there? I know why. It's a rhetorical question. It's because we always think we're going to lose that lead. Well, why would you say that? Why would you ever ask if they're inviting other people over? Because I want to know the truth. I'm not here because other people are going to compete for the job. I'm not on this phone with you because I can't wait to put another prospect in my database. I want to genuinely help you or not. I don't need to help everybody because I realized long ago it's not possible to do so. But I do need to have some clarity when I get off this phone because I want to do some things to continue to help you. I have no problem if your timing's not now. No sweat. But when you give me a nebulous answer like, call me next year, what? No, I won't call you next year. I mean, that's just enough to screw up my entire business. So I want to get on the phone with somebody, or I want people to get on the phone and get me a clear answer. Let me listen to it. And then if we're not getting there, it is definitely your scripting. It's definitely your tone. It's definitely your belief system that you're not in this. You're not engaged in this process, right? Hey, Vanessa, I saw that you just texted me that you are on the call. So I want to get back in here. What we were talking about was the same problem that you were having in your understanding of establishing timing, that you had gone to this nice tone, you were building great conversations, they were happening, but to a certain extent, you were getting high on that conversation and forgetting to hit the beat of a clear outcome. And this was according to you because you'd gone back and found out that some people had bought. So it's this lack of clarity. So this balance between, and again, I think you're better when you're conversationalist. And I think it's more challenge when you have to be abrupt. But Voltaire's frustration is the same as anybody else's, was, hey, are you really asking the questions to determine timing, right? So what have been the adjustments for you? What are your thoughts about being more direct to making sure you don't have a conversation where you're not clear on the outcome? The adjustments you've made yet?
Yeah. Hi, Danny.
Hi.
So I definitely ask the questions. I may not do them in the order of the script, or I do it to where I'm not constantly scripted.
Yeah.
But I do want to know, oh, you rent, and why aren't you buying now? They say, oh, I'm a year out. Why are you a year out?
Yeah.
Before I used to say, oh, you're a year out. Okay. Can I check in with you, in the future then? And they would say yes. Now I'm asking why they're a year out. And they'll tell me I'm working on my credit, or, I'm not sure if I'm going to stay and, I'm in the military. So they explain it to me. And then from there, I decide if they can move forward now,
yeah,
or if they really do have to wait a year.
Yeah. Does it feel more comfortable? Do you feel?
So I do ask more questions.
Yeah. Do you feel more empowered by that? What's your feeling in your brain? Because you like being concierge.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I feel more productive, and I feel like it's like with everything. Like this, to me, it's my everyday thing, and it's so easy to assume that they know that they need, you know, I just need to educate the people that I'm on the phone with about what I do for a living. You know,
yep.
I'm the professional, and you don't have to wait a year. You don't have to, just by asking questions, I determine that.
Yeah.
So I do feel more empowered. I feel more productive, rather than, oh yeah, you know, I'm having conversations, but they're not productive conversations. And that's with anyone, that even if they call and ask about a property and I don't know anything about this property that's supposed to be from a whole another agent in the office, I don't have the information they want, and I still ask them these questions, and I determine, you know, sometimes even say they're looking for a house for rent, and instead of me even giving that information away, once I ask them the questions, and I tell them, hey, look, this property's for sale. Could you buy? Are you ready? Why are you looking to move? And then that's when my follow-up would start, or some people I have them talk to lenders.
All right. So now looking forward to follow-up calls and this clarity. Have you been able to solve anybody's problem and shorten their time frame and help them?
I can't think of anyone. What I have done, though, two people I did last week, like you said, you know, hear what they're saying. And one of them told me where he lived, how he rented, that they weren't looking to make a move now, but they own in the East Coast. I mean, they wouldn't have a problem qualifying. It's just a matter of them finding something. So I ran a search. I texted him, said, hey, this is in your email, the areas that you're interested in, those are nice areas. And I see him viewing the listings that I sent to him.
Yep. Good.
So it's something that I didn't do before. I mean, we had things that would have them set up on all of that. Right. So I wasn't used to doing that. But when I was set in this mentality where I would say, well, I'm not going to sit here and create any searches until you come in and we meet with you and we know you're serious.
There's the problem, right?
There's the problem.
Yeah,
people that require follow-up.
Yeah. Let me run with that for a second.
They're engaged.
Awesome. Let me run with that for a second, Vanessa. I think that's really, really, really an important point for everybody. And I go back to you, Kyle, what I said in the beginning. We have to understand that there's this, you know, incredibly important balance that we have to strike between being unbelievably helpful. Your unique selling proposition is the fact that you are all going to be unbelievably helpful to this human being, regardless of the outcome. That sounds like one, polar end. And the other polar end, you must ask the questions to clarify the timing so that you know that there is a chance for you to continuously follow up and build a relationship or not. Now, they sound like they're opposites. And some of you get confused when we do these sales training calls that I'm recommending one versus the next. Not at all. I am saying the master of this process goes for both in the blend. And that's the process of learning how to blend them. You can sound extremely concierge, positive, hopeful, all those things without being quote unquote soft, because it's the tonality and the spirit of giving that when you own it in a confident way, it's that confident person who's going to take you up Mount Everest and just be confident you will not get hurt on my watch. You will not get hurt. If you do what I say to do, you will not get hurt. Now, what I need from you, you got to tell me why we're doing this to begin with. I need to know who I'm on the mountain with. I need to know why you want to climb this thing to begin with. Is this a personal thing? What is this thing? Let me know so we can connect, right? That's a true way to segue from your confidence in your plan and guidance into now you've got to listen to me so I can help you. They don't go one versus the next. They are locked in with glue, right? They're locked in with glue. You must go and get that timing and say, well, I don't know what. Well, hold on. Just think. You got all the way to this point. You have this context. You're looking. You're called. What's on your mind? Read your mind out loud for me, please, so that I know how to give the best advice. Even if we never talk again, I want to set you in the right direction. See where I'm going, Vanessa? It's this spirit that you're in control. And so the digital age has created this problem where we believe in direct response, which is absolutely 100% about getting somebody to respond and buy. We can be confused by that sometimes when we send out the marketing and nobody calls and we're like, well, it didn't work. No, maybe the message didn't work. Did you call it with a telemarketing follow-up? People are skeptical. They're hiding more and more and more. And so the guide who's really good and benevolent must mix themselves in with the liars. You got to dive in. I hate to say this about our own fellow population of agents, but plenty of people are going to lie. Hey, Mr. Expired, we have a buyer for that. And they don't even have anyone remotely close to being a buyer for that particular property. That's lying. It's malevolent to a certain extent. So you've got to go in there with that same enthusiasm that's positive. See, a lot of people don't think that the guide who's positive and concierge and giving can compete with the liar. Absolutely you can. Expose the liar. Expose them for what that is. Yeah, that sounds cute that they have a buyer for that. I'm wondering why they didn't bring them when it was listed with somebody else. Okay. And have them bring them over and show it to them before if they really have some. If they do, wonderful. Try to sell it to them. But if they don't, I have a plan for you. I have a plan for you. I have something that with or without me, you need. So while all that noise is going on, I'm going to send this to you. Okay. And if you're inside the next 12 months, you need to start looking at this plan and planning. And I'm happy to coach you through that. Oh, by the way, the critical first step to selling is knowing what the properties around you that look most likely like you are selling for. I will put you in. Here's the offer. I will put you in the back end of MLS so that not only do I send you some of them right now that just sold in the last 60, but going forward, you see it every day. That's an offer. That's a strong, benevolent offer because we know, Vanessa, that that's going to help them. So the reason I asked you, have you been able to solve anybody's problem? If you put those two infographics for buying and selling up on the board where you make your phone calls, you can have those right in your face and saying, what does this guy or gal really need? Right? Oh, you have a property in the East Coast. How come you called me? How come you called us? What was your interest in that property? Are you an investor? And what it is it's more than just a script. It's a curiosity. So we could sit here and come up with all sorts of, Gail's giving some great ideas. Tony gave some great ideas. Everybody gave some great ideas on what to say to this person, Vanessa. But the truth is, be curious because you want to help more people. In other words, if your goal is to truly help more people, solve more problems, by the way, that's business 101. The more successful you want to be, then you have to hang on, let me just finish one thought. You have to solve more problems for more people if you want to go up the ladder of success. Yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
So this specific man that owns in the East Coast,
yep.
He came in through commission things years ago.
Yep.
And he was thinking about buying here when he rents in like a nice area in downtown.
Yeah.
And so my follow-up, I've been talking to him and he's been getting our stuff for a while, was, hey, did you end up buying yet? And that's when he mentioned, no, I actually bought a condo in downtown Chicago, but my son's going to live there. I'm still going to stay here, so I would be interested in buying something here.
He would.
And then that's
he
when
would.
He went on to tell me.
Hold on. He would? Missed that. He would or he wouldn't be interested?
No, he would be.
Okay.
Like he wants to buy here. He bought over there because the market was right for the condo.
Yeah.
So he bought over there for his son. His son goes to school over there. It was the right thing for him. his money into like it was $100,000 condo.
Yeah, good.
Or something like that.
So that's over, and now you have this opportunity. So therein lies the right there. You go into the offer. Say, was there a particular thing that you like here? And you say, because what I can do is if you tell me what price you'd pay here, and you're looking for a good deal, obviously, if you tell me what price range you're in, let me send you over some properties that have sold in the last 60 days. I know you're looking at what for sale is, but that can be confusing. That's what I'm saying. Solve that issue. Be proactive in solving that. Go ahead. Come on. What are you going to say?
So that's what I did with him, which is usually what I don't do or what I didn't do when people. I had that conversation over the phone to where he explained to me what he had in mind, his price range, how he owned 2 dogs, and wanted something with a little bit of yard space, but it's just him and his wife. So all of that stuff before, nobody opened up to me to tell me. I didn't ask. I would just say, are you looking to buy now, or should I follow up with you later? Yeah. And I wouldn't get into a deep conversation because I wanted to, am I going to make an appointment or not? Are we going to help you buy a house now, or should I just put you in my follow-up system? Like I said, so I sent him some things. He responded that he got them, and he's in no rush. He pays
Vanessa, hold on. You're going the wrong way now. Okay. Here's what it is. I want you to write up on your board. Number one, all of you, put the two infographics, buyer and seller course. Those are the plans you have. Okay. Number two, I want you all to write the word, why? Just why? Why are they selling? Why are they buying? And the more that you can provoke conversation around the why, the when is always cloudy or nebulous because they have problems that need solving. And without guidance, they don't get solved, or they solve at their own pace. So you can be thrown off by their timing. Be careful of when as your primary motive. The why connects the humans. They will support what they help create, which is a connected relationship around why, your empathy for that. Okay. The when can be shortened in a lot of cases because now you take over as the guide. Say, look, even if you're not going to buy now, you're in no hurry. I hear you. However, here's what you should do. You should get this list of 60 properties, of the last 60 days worth of solds. You should look at it, and then I'm going to call you back, and you're going to tell me which ones would you have bought, okay? If you made a now decision, are any of these properties really interesting to you or not? Give me the parameters that most interested you so that when I set you up going forward, it's refined. That's proactive. You got to get in there with them and say, why are you doing this? You're still looking at this. Chicago has absolutely nothing to do with it. That was for his son. That's the equivalent while the kid's at school or just out of school. That's the equivalent of taking care of your kid, period. Has nothing to do with what he wants. And why does he want to buy something in San Diego? Right? You're not going back there. So you see where I'm going? You really now even go to another level of why and take the bull by the horns. Every seller and every buyer.
Determined he's going to buy here. I determined he's going to buy here, and I really considered that a productive conversation.
Hold on. I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. I already know that. What I want to know and where I'm going is your productivity to get from where you were back a month or so ago to where you are is awesome. Fantastic evolution. But I want you to really hear me at the end of this call here today. I want you to think about what you did proactively to shorten his time frame, if that was possible. Okay. In other words, what actions did you take to educate him deeper about what his money could buy, get that to him, follow up with him, and see what that did to his mindset? You understand where I'm going? Don't just sit there and go, I got him. He's a buyer. Don't do that. Before it was really cloudy. Now it's a little bit clear, but now it's like, okay, you got the opportunity you wanted. What are you doing proactively to shorten this guy's time frame if that's possible? And if it's not, just really continuing to be helpful along the way, because most people's timing is very cloudy. I can't stand that line, buyers are liars. It's pathetic. It's such a weak-minded business thing. They're not liars. They don't know. How do they know? In the back of their head, like Tony was saying earlier, you don't really know why they're moving. And the more you could connect on that, the more emotionally connected they are. Oh my gosh, thank you for asking. Nobody ever asked me that, and I probably would have never told anybody. That's what it sounds like in their head. So you've got to, once you have that foot in the door, move in the room. Don't leave a foot in the door. Hey, I got a foot in the door. This guy's going to buy. It's going to be in the next 12 months, he said. Yeah, but what are you doing now that the door is open? Rip it open. Get in there. Get in that relationship. Send him stuff, even if it's a one-sided conversation. You got it? Make sense?
Yeah.
And best, especially around sold properties. When somebody's buying, show them what the money is buying today in case that matches, because that might just be the trigger where they wake up and go, shoot, that's a good deal. Go find me one of those. I'll buy it. See what I mean? You can change somebody's timing by bringing the right information at the right time where a wiring happens. And all of a sudden, a guy who's 6 months out is now. I'm not saying it happens all the time or often, but that is the job, to be proactive, to try to get them to do something, because most people are stretching their timing anyway because nobody's really guiding. All right? Got it?
Hey, Danny.
Yep. Go ahead, Doug.
Danny, I love that. I was just sitting here thinking, as she's having this conversation with this guy, she's obviously building a rapport with him because he's like, hey, no one's ever asked me that. Maybe something to ask. And, I always keep this in the back of my mind, like this person needs, but it may be a simple question like, hey, what do you think you need? What needs to happen in order for you to buy a house here? And let them tell you. Yeah, right. Well, and again, that's just putting it on them, right? Which is exactly right. So however we do that, what do I have to do to make this happen? Right? That's the key. What do I have to do? And I will. So there you go. All right, listen, I'm out of time here. Bravo to all of you who have participated. This is a winner. Get on the phone, and remember, your outcome is to establish why they're moving and really determine how you're going to follow up. But the last point here is the most important of the day. Once you're there, kick the door open and be super helpful to them. Give them insightful information that would lead them to a conclusion. All right? Have a great weekend, everybody. Go get them. Go practice this stuff in the field. I want more. You're welcome. I want more recordings, too.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, everybody. You bet. Have a great day. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Danny.
Yep, you bet.